The station hung in space like a massive silver wheel, turning slowly against the stars. Inside, the Galactic Council chamber buzzed with voices from 47 different worlds. Captain Taman Kang stood at the entrance, straightening his uniform one last time. His hands bore old scars, white lines that ran across his knuckles and palms. More scars traced across the left side of his face, pulling slightly at his cheek when he smiled. Yeri Park touched his shoulder gently. She carried a data tablet filled with humanity's petition to join the council. "Are you ready?" she asked in Korean, then switched to Standard Galactic. "They're waiting for us," Taman nodded. He had fought in the colonial wars, saved hundreds of lives as a combat medic, and survived situations that should have killed him. But walking into this chamber felt different. This wasn't about one battle or one planet. This was about humanity's future among the stars. The doors opened with a soft hiss. The chamber was enormous, with seats arranged in ascending circles. Each seat held a delegate from a different world. Some looked almost human. Others were so alien that Taman's brain struggled to understand their shapes. The air smelled strange. A mixture of different atmospheres filtered and blended for everyone's comfort. Counselor Yuna Choi sat in the human observer's seat. She was old now, her hair completely white, but her eyes were sharp. She had been fighting for this moment for 10 years. When she saw Taman, she gave him a small nod of encouragement. At the center of the chamber stood a platform. Taman walked toward it, his boots clicking against the metal floor. Every eye in the room followed him. He could feel their attention like a physical weight. Hyeri walked beside him, her face calm and professional. "Captain Taman Kang of Earth," a voice announced from everywhere and nowhere. "You may present humanity's petition." Taman stepped onto the platform. It rose smoothly, lifting him so everyone could see him clearly. He took a breath and began to speak. "Honored council members," he said, "humanity comes before you not as conquerors or supplicants, but as partners. We know we are young compared to most of you. We know our technology is limited. We know we have made mistakes." He paused, looking around the chamber. Some faces showed interest. Others showed nothing at all. But we offer something valuable. We offer adaptability. We offer determination. We offer the ability to survive and grow stronger through hardship. In our short history in space, we have faced pirates, plague, and isolation. Each time we survived. Each time we learned. Each time we became stronger. A tall figure stood up in the upper rows. His skin was pale blue and perfectly smooth, without a single mark or imperfection. His body looked sculpted like a statue come to life. This was Ambassador Vrex of the Korthan people. "A question," Vrex said, his voice cold and precise. "You speak of surviving hardship. You speak of growing stronger, but I see evidence to the contrary." He pointed directly at Taman's face, "those scars on your face and hands. What are they?" The chamber fell silent. Taman touched his cheek reflexively, feeling the raised tissue under his fingers. "They are scars from injuries I received during the colonial wars," Taman said. "I was a combat medic. These injuries happened while I was treating wounded soldiers under fire." "Exactly," Vrex said, and his voice carried a note of triumph. "They are proof of weakness. Proof that your species is too fragile for the dangers of galactic society. The Korthan people developed proper healing technology centuries ago. We do not scar. We do not bear permanent marks from injuries. These scars on your body show that humanity is biologically inferior." Other delegates began to whisper among themselves. Taman saw doubt spreading through the chamber like ripples on water. Hyeri stepped forward, her voice urgent and quiet. "Taman, let me respond. I have data about human healing capabilities But Taman raised his hand, stopping her. He looked directly at Vrex, meeting those cold eyes without flinching. "With respect, Ambassador Vrex, you are wrong." The whispers stopped. Everyone waited to hear what he would say next. "These scars are not proof of weakness," Taman said slowly and clearly. "They are proof of strength. Each one is a battle I survived. Each one is a lesson I learned. Each one is a reason I am still here, still standing, still fighting." He held up his hand so everyone could see the white lines crossing his palms. "This scar came from dragging a wounded soldier through broken glass, while under enemy fire. I saved her life. This one," he touched his face, "came from shrapnel when a medical station was bombed. I survived the explosion. I pulled 3 others from the rubble. They lived because I was strong enough to endure." Taman's voice grew firmer, more passionate. My species bears our scars because we survive things that should kill us. We adapt to conditions that should break us. We heal and we learn and we keep moving forward. Yes, we could develop technology to erase every mark from our skin, but these scars tell our stories. They remind us of what we have overcome. They remind us that we are strong enough to face whatever comes next. Ambassador Vrex's perfect face showed something that might have been contempt. Pretty words. But scars indicate that you were damaged. Damaged things are weaker than undamaged things. This is simple logic, is it? Taman challenged. Tell me, Ambassador, have you ever been injured? Have you ever felt pain? Have you ever had to push through agony to complete a mission? Vrex's expression became cold. I have not. The Korthan people evolved beyond such primitive experiences centuries ago. Then you have never truly been tested, Taman said. You have never learned the lessons that pain teaches. You have never discovered what you are capable of enduring. That is not strength, Ambassador. That is ignorance. The chamber erupted into noise. Delegates argued with each other in dozens of languages. Some seemed angry at Taman's boldness. Others seemed intrigued. Counselor Yuna Choi was standing now, her face showing pride and worry in equal measure. A deep gong sound filled the chamber, calling for silence. The council speaker, an ancient being whose species Taman did not recognize, spoke in a voice like grinding stones. Enough. This debate reveals important questions about humanity's readiness to join this council, questions that cannot be answered with words alone. The speaker turned to face Taman directly. Captain Kang, your passion is noted. Your philosophy is recorded, but the council requires demonstration, not declaration. We will postpone judgment on humanity's petition. Instead, we propose a trial. Taman felt his stomach tighten, but he kept his voice steady. What kind of trial? A proving ground, the speaker said. You will lead a human team to survive on Krell 7, a moon known for its hostile environment. Ambassador Vrex will lead a Korthan team to the same location. Both teams will attempt to retrieve an artifact from the planet's core region. Whichever team succeeds will prove their philosophy correct. Vrex stood again, his perfect body radiating confidence. I accept this challenge. We will demonstrate that perfection surpasses endurance. All eyes turned to Taman. He thought about his scars. He thought about every person he had saved, every impossible situation he had survived. He thought about what humanity had endured to reach the stars. We accept, Taman said. We will show you what human strength really means. The council speaker nodded slowly. So it shall be. Prepare your teams. The trial begins in one planetary cycle. As the chamber emptied, Hyeri moved close to Taman. Do you know what you just agreed to? Krell 7 is one of the most dangerous moons in this sector. The Korthans are genetically enhanced. They are faster, stronger. They are perfect, Taman interrupted quietly. And that is going to be their weakness. He looked down at his scarred hands one more time, then clenched them into fists. It was time to show the galaxy what humans were really made of. The transport ship descended through thick red clouds. Taman watched through the window as Krell 7 came into view. The moon's surface looked angry, covered with active volcanoes that painted the sky with ash and fire. Rivers of lava glowed between black stone mountains. Steam geysers erupted randomly across the landscape. Beautiful place for a vacation, Doyun Lee said dryly from his seat. The former Special Forces soldier was checking his equipment for the third time. Everything humans brought was strictly regulated. No advanced weapons, no orbital support, only basic survival gear. Jiwan Nam sat across from him, her engineer's tools spread on her lap. She was already making modifications to their basic supplies, improving the water filters and reinforcing their shelter materials. The thermal readings are extreme. We'll need to move during the cooler periods and find shelter during the heat peaks. Mina Bay studied her medical scanner, frowning at the data. The atmosphere has higher sulfur content than the briefing suggested. We'll need to monitor our exposure carefully. And the local biology, she shook her head. According to the database, nothing on this moon is friendly. Taman stood at the front of their small team. Just 4 humans against this entire world. And somewhere else on the surface, the Korthan team was landing too. 5 of them, all genetically perfect, all enhanced for strength and speed. Listen carefully, Taman said. The Korthans will try to reach the artifact fast. They will rely on their physical advantages. We cannot compete with them in speed or strength. So we compete in intelligence, we adapt, we survive. Understood? All 3 nodded. They had trained together for weeks, but Nothing could truly prepare them for what waited below. The ship landed on a plateau of black volcanic rock. The ramp lowered and heat rushed in like a physical blow. The air smelled of sulfur and burning stone. Even through their protective suits, Taman felt the temperature pressing against his skin. They unloaded their supplies quickly. The transport ship lifted off immediately, leaving them alone with the roar of distant volcanoes and the hiss of steam vents. Their communication devices crackled to life. "Human team," Ambassador Vrex's voice came through clearly. "We have already begun our journey toward the artifact. I calculate we will reach the core region in 3 solar cycles. Please try to keep up." The channel went dead. Doyen spat on the hot ground, watching his saliva evaporate instantly. 3 cycles? The mission timeline gives us 10. He wants to prove their superiority quickly, Jiwan said, studying a portable scanner. The fastest route to the core goes through the volcanic valleys. Dangerous but direct. Taman looked at their map, thinking carefully. "We take the longer route, around the mountains, using the canyon systems for cover from the heat. Slower but safer." "That might take us 8 or 9 cycles," Mina warned. "Better to arrive late than not arrive at all," Taman replied. They moved out, walking across the hostile landscape. The ground was hot enough to feel through their boots. Small cracks in the rock leaked steam and toxic gases. Above them, the red sky flickered with lightning from volcanic clouds. Hours passed. The team fell into a rhythm, each person watching for different dangers. Doyen scanned for predators. G1 marked safe paths. Mina monitored everyone's vital signs. Taman coordinated, making decisions about when to rest and when to push forward. On the second day, they entered a canyon system. The high walls provided shade from the brutal sun, and the temperature dropped to merely uncomfortable instead of deadly. They were making good progress when Doyen suddenly held up his fist, the signal for everyone to freeze. "Movement," he whispered. "Big movement. In the rocks ahead." Something massive shifted in the shadows between the boulders. Taman caught a glimpse of armored scales and too many legs. The creature was easily 4 meters tall, with a body like an insect but covered in rock-like plating. It had not seen them yet. "Back away slowly," Taman ordered quietly. No sudden movements, they began to retreat. Jiwan stepped carefully, testing each foothold. But a loose stone shifted under her boot, clattering down the slope. The sound echoed through the canyon. The creature's head snapped toward them. Multiple eyes reflected the red light. It opened a mouth full of grinding mandibles and charged. "Run!" Taman shouted. The team scattered. The creature was impossibly fast for something so large. It targeted G1, who was closest. She scrambled over rocks, her engineer's tools bouncing on her belt. The creature closed the distance in seconds. Doyen changed direction, running at an angle to intercept. He grabbed a loose rock and hurled it at the creature's eyes. "Over here, you ugly piece of—" The creature turned toward him instead. Its massive claw swept out, catching Doyen across his side and throwing him against the canyon wall. He hit hard and fell, not moving. Mina was already running toward him, her medical kit in hand. Taman and Jiwan worked together, throwing rocks and making noise, drawing the creature away from their fallen teammate. It was confused now, turning between multiple targets. "The canyon narrows ahead," Jiwan gasped, pointing. "If we can get it stuck, go!" Taman ordered. They ran toward the narrow section, the creature thundering after them. At the last moment, they split, diving behind boulders on either side. The creature tried to follow, but its massive body wedged between the canyon walls. It roared and struggled, but it was trapped. Taman and Jiwan ran back to where Mina was working on Doyen. The soldier was conscious, but his face was twisted with pain. His suit was torn and blood stained his side. 3 broken ribs, Mina reported, her hands moving quickly with bandages and injections, maybe internal bleeding. "I need to stabilize him." Behind them, the creature was still struggling in the narrow gap, roaring its frustration. Other sounds answered from deeper in the canyon. "More of them. We need to move," Jiwan said urgently. "Now." "He cannot be moved safely yet," Mina insisted. Their communication devices crackled. Frex's voice came through, smug and satisfied. "We observed your encounter with the native predator through our scanners. Most unfortunate. This demonstrates exactly what I told the council. Your fragility makes you unsuitable for—" Taman grabbed the communicator and spoke through gritted teeth. "We saved our teammate." "What would you have done, Ambassador? Left him behind because he was damaged?" There was a pause. If a Corthan team member were injured to that degree, yes. We would proceed with the mission. The individual is less important than the objective. Then you have already lost, Taman said and cut the channel. He turned to his team. Doyen was sitting up now, his torso wrapped in bandages. His face was pale but determined. I can walk, Doyen said. Slowly, but I can walk. We modify our route, Taman decided. Shorter rest periods but slower pace. We stay together. Jiwan, can you rig some kind of early warning system for predators? The engineer nodded, already thinking. With our motion sensors and some spare parts, yes. Basic but functional. Mina, monitor Doyen constantly. Any sign his condition is worsening, you tell me immediately. Understood. They moved on, but differently now. Jiwan worked as they traveled, connecting motion sensors to create a perimeter alarm. It was crude but effective. That night, they made camp in a sheltered cave, and the alarm triggered twice, warning them of nearby predators before they got too close. Doyen sat against the cave wall, his breathing careful and controlled. I slowed us down, he said quietly. If I had been faster, you saved Jiwan's life, Taman interrupted. That is what matters. The Corthans would not see it that way. The Corthans have never been hurt, so they have never learned what it costs to save someone, Taman said. He looked at his own scarred hands in the firelight. They do not know what it means to endure pain and keep fighting. That is going to be their weakness. Mina checked Doyen's vital signs again. The pain is teaching his body to compensate. His breathing is already adapting to protect the broken ribs. Humans are good at that, learning from injury. The Corthans do not scar, Jiwan said, working on her alarm system. They have technology that prevents it. They probably think scars are disgusting. Let them think what they want, Doyen said, managing a pained smile. This will just be another scar to add to my collection. Proof I survived this place. Outside the cave, Krell 7 roared and burned. The ground shook with seismic tremors. Lightning flashed in the toxic sky. But inside the small shelter, the human team rested together, protected by simple technology and complex determination. On the fourth day, their communicators crackled with an emergency signal. Not from Vrex this time, but from the council station monitoring the trial. Attention both teams, the message said. Major seismic event detected. Category 7 volcanic eruption in the central region. Shockwaves incoming. Take shelter immediately. Taman looked at Jiwan. How close are we to solid shelter? She checked her scanner. There is a lava tube system 200 meters north. If we run, Doyen cannot run, Mina said flatly. Taman made his decision in seconds. Jiwan, you run ahead. Find the tube entrance and mark it. Mina and I will support Doyen. We move as fast as he can manage. They moved out into the red-lit chaos. The ground was already shaking, getting worse every second. In the distance, a mountain exploded, sending a column of fire into the sky. The shockwave hit them like a... The lava tube was dark and hot, but it was shelter. The human team huddled deep inside while the world outside tore itself apart. The ground shook so violently that rocks fell from the ceiling. The air filled with dust and sulfur. Mina held a scanner, monitoring the seismic activity, counting down the minutes until it would be safe to emerge. Doyen leaned against the wall, conserving his strength. His ribs throbbed with every breath, but he stayed quiet. Pain was just information now, telling him what his body could and could not do. The Corthan team, Jiwan said, checking her communicator. Their signals are still active. They are moving, but slower now. Taman frowned. Something felt wrong about that. The Corthan should have found shelter too. Their technology was better than the human equipment. Unless... They tried to outrun it, he said quietly. They thought their speed and strength would be enough. That was stupid, Doyen muttered. That was confident, Taman corrected. They have never failed before, so they did not believe they could fail now. The shaking gradually lessened. After 2 hours, Mina declared it safe to move. They emerged from the lava tube into a changed landscape. The eruption had reshaped the entire valley. New lava flows glowed orange in the darkness. The air was thick with ash that fell like black snow. Their communicators crackled to life. This time it was not Vrex's voice, but someone else from the Corthan team. The voice was tight with pain and something that might have been fear. This is Kyungsu of the Corthan expedition. We require assistance. 2 of our team members are severely injured. We cannot move them safely. Jiwan looked at Taman in surprise. The Corthans were asking for help? Where is Ambassador Vrex? Taman asked carefully. The ambassador is... Unharmed, but he refuses to treat the injured. He says they are compromised. He wants to leave them and continue to the artifact. Kyung-soo's voice broke slightly. Please, I do not know what to do. Taemin closed his eyes briefly. Every instinct screamed that this was a mistake. They should continue their own mission. The Korthans had mocked them, dismissed them, and now they were asking for help. But he looked at his own team, at Doyen, injured but still here because they had not abandoned him, at Mina, who had worked tirelessly to keep him alive, at Jiwon, who had risked herself to find shelter for all of them. Send us your coordinates, Taemin said. We are coming. It took them an hour to reach the Korthan position. What they found shocked even Taemin, who thought he had seen every kind of injury during the wars. 2 Korthans lay on the ground, their perfect bodies torn and burned. One had lost an arm to what looked like a plasma trap. The other had deep burns across his chest and face. Both were conscious, their eyes wide with pain and terror. They had never felt anything like this before. Ambassador Vrek stood apart from them, his face showing disgust. He looked at the injured as if they were diseased. 3 other Korthans, including Kyung-soo, stood between Vrex and the wounded, their expressions conflicted. You should not have come, Vrek said to Taemin. This does not concern you. These 2 are compromised. They will bear permanent scars. They are no longer suitable for Korthan society. They are members of your team, Taemin said slowly, trying to control his anger. They are your responsibility. They failed to avoid injury. That failure disqualifies them from our civilization. We will continue without them. Mina was already moving toward the injured Korthans, her medical kit open. One of them tried to wave her away weakly. No, Ambassador Vrek says we are compromised. We should be left. Be quiet, Mina said firmly. She began scanning the injuries, her face professional and focused. These wounds are treatable. The arm cannot be replaced here, but I can stop the bleeding and prevent infection. The burns are serious but manageable. She looked up at Vrex. Do you have medical supplies? Your technology is more advanced than ours. Vrex's expression remained cold. I will not waste resources on damaged individuals. The words hung in the air like poison. Kyung-soo stepped forward, his perfect face showing an emotion that Taemin recognized as shame. Ambassador, please. They are our brothers. We cannot just, can't we? Vrex interrupted. They are flawed now. Imperfect. They will bear scars as permanent reminders of their failure. Would you have us accept such weakness? Taemin walked slowly toward Vrex until they stood face to face. The Korthan was taller, his body obviously stronger, but something in Taemin's scarred face made Vrex take a step back. You have never been hurt, Taemin said quietly, so you have never learned. You have never failed, so you have never adapted. You call your people perfect, but you are brittle. One crack and you break completely. That is not strength, Ambassador. That is weakness wearing a mask. He turned to address all the Korthans. My species bears scars because we survive things that should kill us. We adapt to conditions that should break us. Your people erase every imperfection, hide every flaw. But what happens when something cannot be hidden? When an injury is too severe for your technology, you abandon your own. You call it evolution. I call it cowardice. The injured Korthans were staring at him now. So was Kyung-soo and the others. Only Vrex's face remained unmoved. We are not here to debate philosophy, Vrex said. We are here to complete the mission. The artifact is less than a day's journey ahead. I will retrieve it and prove Korthan superiority. Fine, Taemin said. Go, we will treat your wounded. And when we are done, we will continue our mission too. Vrex looked at the other healthy Korthans. Come, we leave now. But Kyung-soo did not move. No, Ambassador. I will stay. I will help the humans care for our injured. If you stay, you are choosing to side with these scarred, weak humans over your own superior species, Vrex warned. Maybe I'm choosing to remember what it means to be decent, Kyung-soo replied. One by one, the other healthy Korthans made their choice. 2 went with Vrex, their faces conflicted. 1 stayed with Kyung-soo. Ambassador Vrex looked at them all with contempt, then turned and walked away toward the artifact site. His 2 followers went with him, not looking back. Mina was already working on the injured, with Kyung-soo and the other Korthan helping her. Jiwon provided supplies from their packs. Doyen, despite his own injuries, helped where he could, mixing medicines and holding bandages. This will hurt, Mina warned one of the burned Korthans. I have pain medication, but it is limited. You will feel most of the treatment. I have never felt pain before, the Korthan admitted. Not real pain. Our society eliminates it. Is it always like this? Sometimes worse, Doyen said, managing a smile. But you learn from it. Your body learns. Your mind learns. Pain is just information, telling you that you survived something difficult. They worked for hours. The Korthan with the severed arm was named Minseok. The one with the burns was called Jabum. Both endured the treatment with surprising courage, though they trembled and gasped at sensations their enhanced bodies had never experienced. When Mina finally finished, both were stable. Minseok looked at his bandaged stump where his arm had been. This will scar, he said quietly. I can never return to Korthan worlds now. Imperfect bodies are not permitted. Then you are free, Taemin said. Free to live without pretending to be perfect. Free to learn what you are really capable of. Kyung-soo sat down heavily, his perfect face troubled. I do not understand. Why did you help us? We mocked you. We called your scars proof of weakness. We are your competitors in this trial. Because leaving someone to die when you can save them is wrong, Taemin said simply. It does not matter if they are human or Korthan or anything else. If you can help, you should help. But the mission will wait, Taemin interrupted. The artifact has been in that cave for thousands of years. It can wait one more day. While the injured rested, Taemin checked his scanner. The artifact site was marked clearly on his map. It was inside a deep cavern system protected by ancient defenses. Vrex and his two followers would reach it in hours. Jiwon looked over his shoulder. If they reach it first, they win the trial. They prove their point about perfection being superior. Maybe, Taemin said. Or maybe they prove something else entirely. The communicator crackled to life. It was Vrex's voice, and for the first time it carried a note of genuine excitement. Korthan team to council observers. We have reached the artifact chamber. Beginning retrieval now. This will prove... His voice cut off, replaced by alarms and the sound of weapons firing. Then screaming. Then nothing but static. Everyone froze. Taemin grabbed the communicator. Ambassador Vrex, respond. What is your situation? No answer. Just the hiss of an open channel and, faintly, the sound of something mechanical moving in the background. The defense systems. Jiwon breathed. The briefing mentioned automated defenses around the artifact. We were supposed to analyze them carefully, find a safe way through. But Vrex was moving fast, Doyen said. Confident. Certain he could handle anything. They waited for 10 minutes. Finally, Vrex's voice returned, but it was different now. The cold confidence was gone, replaced by something that might have been panic. This is Ambassador Vrex. We triggered the defense system. Both of my team members are severely injured. The chamber is collapsing. There was a long pause. I am trapped. I cannot move. The artifact is here, but I cannot reach it. I require assistance. The words none of them expected came next, barely audible. Please, help me. The chamber was collapsing. Through the communicator, they could hear rock grinding against rock, the hiss of escaping gas, and underneath it all, Ambassador Vrex's labored breathing. The most perfect specimen of the Korthan race was trapped, alone, and possibly dying. We could reach the artifact chamber in 6 hours, Jiwon said, studying her scanner. But only if we move fast, and if we take the direct route through the unstable sections. Doyen cannot move that fast, Mina said immediately. Neither can Minseok or Jabum. They need more recovery time. Kyung-soo looked at Taemin with an expression that was part question, part challenge. What will you do, Captain? Will you abandon Ambassador Vrex as he wanted to abandon our wounded? It would be justice of a sort. Taemin looked at his team, 3 humans who had trusted him with their lives. Then he looked at the Korthans, wounded and changed by pain they had never imagined experiencing. Minseok sat with his missing arm. Jabum's burns were covered in bandages, and Kyung-soo watched him with eyes that were learning to see the universe differently. We don't abandon people, Taemin said finally. Not even people who would abandon us. He turned to his team. Doyun, Jiwon, and I will go to the artifact chamber. Mina, you stay here with the injured. Set up a secure camp. If we are not back in 24 hours... If you are not back in 24 hours, I am coming to find you, Mina interrupted firmly. Don't bother arguing. Despite the situation, Taemin smiled. Understood. Doyen stood up carefully, testing his ribs. I can move. I will be slow, but I can do this. Your injuries, Kyung-soo began, are just information, Doyen finished. My body knows what it can do. I will manage. They gathered their equipment quickly. Basic climbing gear, medical supplies, and portable lights. The artifact chamber was deep underground, accessible only through a series of natural caves and ancient passages. Kyung-soo stepped forward. I should go with you. I know Korthan technology. I can help with the defense systems. Taemin studied him for a moment, then nodded. Welcome to the team. As they prepared to leave, Yeri's voice came through the long-range communicator from orbit. She had been monitoring everything from the command ship. Taemin, the Council is watching all of this. What you're doing, saving your competitor, it's not part of the trial parameters. I know, Taemin replied, but it's the right thing to do. That Korthan has tried to prove you weak and inferior for days now. Which is why saving him will prove we are strong, Taemin said. Yeri, trust me. There was a long pause. I do. Be careful. The journey to the cavern system was brutal. The eruption had destabilized the entire region. Ground that should have been solid cracked under their feet. Steam vents opened without warning. Twice they had to detour around fresh lava flows that blocked their path. Doyen moved steadily, his face pale with pain but his steps certain. He had found a rhythm that his broken ribs could tolerate, a way of breathing that minimized the agony. Every movement was calculated, efficient, born from years of military training and the hard lessons of injury. Kyung-soo watched him with something like awe. You are in constant pain, yet you continue. How? Because pain is temporary, but leaving someone to die is permanent, Doyen said between careful breaths. Besides, I have been hurt before. I know I can survive this. I have never been hurt before today, Kyung-soo admitted. When I saw Min-seok lose his arm, when I saw Jaebum burn, I felt terror. Not because of their pain, but because I realized it could happen to me, that I am not actually invincible. That's not weakness, Ji-won said, adjusting their climbing equipment. That's wisdom. Fear keeps you alive if you let it teach you instead of control you. They reached the cavern entrance as the red sun was setting. The opening looked like a wound in the mountain, steam rising from its depths. Taemin checked his communicator again. Ambassador Vrex, we are at the entrance. Can you hear me? There was a long silence, then Vrex's voice came through, weaker than before. You came. I did not think. Why would you come? Because no one deserves to die alone in the dark, Taemin said. We're coming down. Hold on. They descended into the depths of Krell 7. The caves were ancient, carved by lava millions of years ago. Their lights revealed walls of black glass, smooth and reflective. Strange crystals grew from the ceiling, glowing faintly with their own light. The path led them deeper, past enormous chambers and through narrow passages. They found the first of Rex's team members wedged in a collapsed tunnel. He was dead, his body crushed by fallen rock. The second was in a lower chamber, also dead, killed by what looked like a plasma defense system. Vrex sent them ahead, Kyung-soo said quietly, examining the scene, to test for traps. He used them as disposable tools. That's what happens when you value the mission more than the people, Taemin said. Come on, we need to keep moving. They reached the artifact chamber at last. It was massive, easily 100 meters across. Ancient pillars held up the ceiling. Glowing lines covered the walls, some kind of writing in a language no one could read. And in the center, on a raised platform, sat the artifact itself. It was small, just a sphere of dark metal covered in those same glowing symbols. It looked almost ordinary except for the way it seemed to pull at the eye, demanding attention. Ambassador Vrex lay near the platform, his body half buried in rubble. His left leg was pinned under a massive piece of fallen ceiling. More rocks were still falling, the chamber groaning as it slowly collapsed. Taemin and Doyen rushed to him while Ji-won and Kyung-soo examined the defense systems, looking for a way to stop the collapse. Vrex's perfect face was no longer perfect. Cuts covered his features, blood stained his suit, and his leg was clearly broken in multiple places. You came, Vrex said again, as if he still could not believe it. After everything I said, after how I treated you. Save your strength, Taemin said, examining the rubble. We're getting you out. Doyen studied the situation with a soldier's eye. The rock is too heavy. We cannot lift it, and if we try to break it, the whole pile might shift and crush him. Then we dig him out from underneath, Ji-won suggested. There is no time, Vrex said, and his voice was strangely calm. This chamber is collapsing. You can see the ceiling failing. You should take the artifact and go. Leave me. It is logical. Since when do we do things because they're logical? Taemin asked. He was already examining Vrex's trapped leg. What he saw made his stomach tighten. The leg was not just broken. It was crushed, the bones shattered beyond any field repair. Even if they freed Vrex, he would never use that leg properly again. Not without extensive surgery, probably amputation, and even with the best Korthan technology, he would have scars. He would be imperfect. Taman looked at Vrex. Their eyes met, and the Korthan understood what Taman had realized. "If you free me, I will never be perfect again," Vrex said quietly. "My society will reject me. Everything I have built, my entire identity, it ends here. Or it begins here," Taman replied. "Imperfection is not the end, Ambassador. It's just a different way of living." Above them, the ceiling groaned. A massive crack appeared, spreading like lightning across the stone. They had minutes, maybe seconds. "We need to amputate." Mina's voice came through the communicator. She had been monitoring their vital signs remotely. "It's the only way." "Taman, you know I'm right." Taman did know. He had made this choice before in the wars. Save the person or save the limb, but never both. He looked at Vrex. "We can cut you free. Your leg will have to come off, probably below the knee. You will survive. But you will have scars. Permanent scars. Your people will see you as flawed. Is that a life you can accept?" The chamber shook. More rocks fell. Doyen moved to shield them with his body, even though his own ribs screamed in protest. Vrex was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice steady. "Every word you said at the council was correct. I have never been hurt, so I never learned. I have never failed, so I never adapted. I have been perfect, but I have been ignorant." He paused. "These scars you bear, Captain. Tell me honestly, do they make you weak?" Taman touched his face, feeling the familiar ridges of old wounds. "They remind me of what I've survived. They remind me I'm strong enough to endure. No, Ambassador, they don't make me weak." "Then cut me free," Vrex said. "Let me learn what strength really means." Taman pulled out his medical kit. The tools were basic, designed for field surgery under combat conditions. This would hurt. This would hurt more than anything Vrex had ever experienced. "This is going to be agony," Taman warned. "I have some anesthetic, but not enough. You will feel most of it. Then I will learn," Vrex said. "Do it." The procedure was brutal. Even with anesthetic, Vrex screamed. His perfect body, which had never known real pain, was overwhelmed by sensations it could not process. But he did not tell them to stop. Between screams, he breathed, he endured, he survived. When it was done, his leg below the knee was gone. The stump was bandaged, blood seeping through. Vrex's face was covered in tears and sweat. But his eyes were clear. "I survived," he said with wonder. "It hurts. It hurts more than I imagined anything could hurt. But I survived. Now we run," Doyen said, helping lift Vrex. "This whole chamber is coming down. Jur." The Galactic Council chamber was silent as Taman finished his report. 3 weeks had passed since Krell 7. 3 weeks of medical treatment, debriefing, and waiting. Now, finally, the council would make its judgment. Taman stood at the center of the chamber again, but he was not alone this time. His entire team stood with him. Doyen, his ribs healed but still moving carefully. Jiwon, her engineer's eyes scanning the assembled aliens with curiosity. Mina, calm and professional as always. And Hieri, who had coordinated everything from orbit and then joined them for this final moment. Beside the human delegation stood the Korthans. Kyungsu, no longer perfectly confident but somehow more certain. Minsak, learning to function with one arm, his bandages removed to show the scars clearly. Jabum, his burns healing but leaving permanent marks across his skin. And Ambassador Vrex, standing with a crutch, his missing leg hidden by his diplomatic robes but everyone knowing it was gone. The council speaker called the session to order. "We have reviewed all data from the trial on Krell 7. Both teams failed to retrieve the artifact. Both teams suffered casualties and injuries. By the original parameters, this trial is inconclusive." Murmurs filled the chamber. Taman felt his heart sink. After everything, would they simply declare the trial invalid? But the speaker continued. "However, the trial revealed something more important than we anticipated. It revealed the true nature of strength." The speaker gestured to a display that showed footage from Krell 7. The council watched as the human team saved Doyun from the Predator. They watched as the humans chose to help the injured Korthans instead of continuing their mission. They watched as Taman's team descended into the collapsing chamber to save Vrex. The Korthan delegation has requested to speak first, the speaker announced. To everyone's surprise, it was not Kyung-soo who stepped forward. It was Ambassador Vrex himself. He limped to the center platform without his crutch, bearing his own weight despite obvious pain. When he reached the center, he removed his robes. The chamber gasped. Vrex stood before them in simple clothing that showed his injuries clearly. The scarred stump of his leg was visible. So were the cuts on his face that had healed imperfectly. His perfect body was perfect no longer. I called humanity weak, Vrex began, his voice carrying through the chamber. I pointed at Captain Kang's scars and declared them proof of inferiority. I was wrong. He paused, gathering his thoughts. I have learned more from 3 weeks of pain and recovery than from my entire previous life. I have learned that true strength is not the absence of injury. It is the ability to survive injury and continue. It is the willingness to endure pain to save another life. It is the wisdom to adapt when circumstances change. Vrex looked directly at the Korthan delegation in the upper seats. Several of them looked away, unable to meet his eyes. The Korthan people have spent centuries eliminating our flaws, perfecting our bodies, erasing every mark of weakness. But in doing so, we eliminated our ability to grow through hardship. We eliminated our compassion for those who suffer. We eliminated our understanding of what survival truly means. He gestured to Min-seok and Jaebum. These Korthans bear scars now. Under our laws, they are exiled from our worlds. They are considered defective. But I stand here to say that they are the strongest among us. They endured pain they never imagined and survived. They learned lessons that centuries of perfection never taught them. Vrex turned back to face Taemin. Captain Kang, your scars are not proof of weakness. They are proof that you survived. Proof that you learned. Proof that you endured when others would have quit. I was blind to see them as anything else. The ambassador bowed deeply, a gesture of profound respect in Korthan culture. Then he returned to his delegation, limping but steady. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then Kyung-soo stood and spoke. I support humanity's admission to the Galactic Council. They have demonstrated the most important quality any species can possess, the strength to help others even when it costs them everything. Other voices began to join in, delegates from different species standing to speak. A 4-armed creature from a high-gravity world stood and showed scars from mining accidents. A crystalline being explained how her people had survived their sun-going nova and bore the cracks in their bodies as marks of that survival. An aquatic species described how their young must endure predators to reach maturity. And those who survive are marked for life. One by one, species across the galaxy shared their own stories of scars, of survival, of learning through pain. And one by one they voiced their support for humanity's admission, but not everyone agreed. The Korthan homeworld delegation stood as a group, their faces cold. Their speaker was an elderly female with skin like polished stone, unmarked by time or injury. The Korthan High Council does not recognize the testimony of Ambassador Vrex, she announced. He is compromised by injury and no longer represents our interests. His support for humanity is the result of physical and mental trauma, not rational judgment. She looked at Vrex with open contempt. Furthermore, we formally exile these injured Korthans from all Korthan territories. They are defective and no longer welcome among the perfect. The words hit like a physical blow. Min-seok's expression crumpled. Jaebum looked at the floor. Even Kyung-soo seemed shaken, but Vrex simply smiled, a strange expression on his scarred face. Then I am no longer Korthan. I reject your perfection. I reject your cruelty. I choose instead to be like these humans, scarred, learning, and stronger for it. Taemin stepped forward then, moving to stand beside Vrex. If the Korthan worlds will not have you, then humanity will welcome you. All of you. You have learned what it means to be strong through adversity. That makes you human in the ways that matter most. Min-seok looked up, hope flickering in his eyes. You would accept us? Even though we are damaged? You are not damaged, Mina said firmly, joining them. You are experienced now. You have scars that prove you survived something difficult. That is valuable, not shameful. Doyen limped over, still favoring his healed ribs. He placed his hand on Min-seok's shoulder. Brother, every scar tells a story. Yours tell the story of survival. Be proud of them. The Korthan homeworld delegation stormed out of the chamber, their perfect bodies rigid with offense. But the rest of the council remained and the voting began. Counselor Yuna Choi stood to speak. I have represented humanity in this council for 10 years. I have argued for our admission based on our technology, our culture, our achievements. But today I realize I should have argued for our scars. She touched her own face, which bore the lines of age and hard decisions. Every human carries marks of their journey. Some visible, some hidden. We do not erase them because they remind us of what we have overcome. They remind us that we are survivors. They remind us that we are strong enough to face whatever comes next. Yuna looked around the chamber. I call for a vote on humanity's admission to the Galactic Council. The voting was electronic, each species registering their decision privately. The chamber waited in tense silence as the votes were counted. Taman found himself holding his breath. After everything they had been through, would it be enough? The council speaker raised all 4 of his arms. The vote is complete. By a count of 41 in favor, 3 opposed, and 3 abstentions, humanity is admitted to the Galactic Council. Welcome, brothers and sisters. The chamber erupted in sounds that might have been applause, might have been celebration, might have been something entirely alien but equally joyful. The human delegation embraced each other, tears streaming down several faces. Even the Korthans who had chosen to stay with humanity joined in the celebration, their scarred faces showing emotions their species had forgotten how to express. Taman stood in the center of it all, looking at his scarred hands. These marks had nearly cost humanity their place among the stars. Instead, they had proven to be their greatest asset. Ambassador Vrex approached him, still limping but steady. I owe you my life, Captain Kang. I owe you my understanding. How can I repay such a debt? You already have, Taman replied. You learned. You changed. You chose compassion over perfection. That is payment enough. Vrex held out his hand in the human gesture of respect. Taman took it and they shook, 2 scarred beings acknowledging each other as equals. Yeri moved through the celebrating crowd to reach Taman. The council has made an additional announcement. They want you to head the first joint human-alien exploration mission. Something about your leadership skills and your ability to bring different species together. Taman laughed. I just treat people like people regardless of what species they are. Apparently that is revolutionary, Yeri said with a smile. In the weeks that followed, humanity's integration into the Galactic Council began in earnest. Human ships joined the Council fleet. Human diplomats took their seats in the chamber. Human scientists shared their knowledge, learning from and teaching the other species. And the Korthans who had been exiled found new homes among humanity. Vrex became an ambassador between species, using his unique perspective to bridge understanding. Minseok trained human engineers in Korthan technology. Jabum studied human medicine with Mina, fascinated by the techniques developed to treat injuries that Korthan society simply eliminated.